Hi everyone. I wanted to give you a couple of hints for assignment 3, and so I've kind of put this video together, and I'll post these hints as a notebook file on the server. But I'm not going to give you the solution here for assignment 3, but I want to just kind of give you a couple of pointers if you haven't found them already by searching around online. Kind of just a couple of things that I think would be helpful for solving this assignment. So the assignment is to, let's see if I've got it here. Okay, open forecast.txt, create a dictionary where the keys are the words and the values are the count of those occurrences of the word. For example, if I said print data so data is the dictionary, it might print 12 because the word the appears 12 times in the text file. Okay, and then just kind of show the dictionary, and notice here I just say print the dictionary. You don't have to print it in any specific way. You can just use the raw print command. Alright, so I'm just going to talk about a couple of things. The first is pseudocode, and pseudocode is really a kind of a conceptual thing. So if you're building a application, especially an application that has more steps and is a little bit more complicated, you're going to want to think about kind of the steps that you're going to take to solve that problem. So what I'm going to do here is kind of go through the steps for assignment 3. So I'm going to say the first thing that you need to do is open the file. Okay. The next thing is convert the file string, so the string that's all the text in the file, to something iterable by words. So this is really important, and so this is the second step here is a very important step. We need to iterate through each word. Remember that the assignment is about the words. The keys are the words. Okay, so that's very important. Okay, so iterate over the words, add new keys for words which do not exist in the dictionary, add 1 to keys which do exist in the dictionary. Right? So if we see a new word as we're parsing through, right, we want to put that as a key in the dictionary. But if we see a word that already exists as a key, right, then we don't want to put that. So I'll go here and I'll look at forecast.txt, and as we're going through these words, okay, the word the, right, okay, higher, summits, forecast, okay, the, okay, this the will be a little bit different than this one. We'll kind of talk about that. But right, the word the comes up here, but it also comes up here, right? So this one is the first time we see it, and we'll add it to the keys, and then here we want to say, okay, well, add it again. Increment the counter. So I'll talk quickly about incrementing. Okay, and then finally, print the dictionary once. We'll need to print the dictionary once, not every time we add a word. Alright, so I'm not going to solve the problem here, but I want to just kind of go over some of the tools that you would use to solve this. Alright, so mainly I want to go over split, keys, and increment. Okay, so I'm going to open the file, so I'm going to say f equals open, and I need to open that forecast.txt file, and for me I put it in the data folder, but for you, you should just keep it local, so you could just type forecast.txt. I'm going to type data forecast.txt because mine's in the data folder. I'm going to open it in the read mode because I only need to read it. I'm going to say text equals f dot read. I'm going to read the entire thing as a single string. Okay, so remember that's what f dot read does. So text should be all of the entire text, and we can say print text, and I did this in the last lesson. Whoops. And that's why we do that. Forecast .txt figure out why this is not working. Alright, this folder is in a different directory, so I just have to go one back. Okay, so this is specific to what I'm doing right now. You should just be able to use the forecast.txt so long as you put forecast.txt in the same directory as the script that's running it. And when I go to correct this assignment, I will have that text file in there, so you won't have to worry about that. I just need your Python script. Okay, so print that, make sure that works, which it does. All right, so let's talk about some of the tools. So split. So one thing that I haven't talked about is, we've talked about split, but we can split on lots of different characters. I'm just going to say print text dot split, and remember split takes, you call it on a string, and it takes a argument, which is the thing to split on. So we can split on space, and notice here it's just blank space, and that's totally fine. You can do that, there's no problems with that. So if I print that, look at that, we get all the words in a nice organized list. So this is something that's iterable. So iterable by words, more specifically. Okay, so convert the file string to something iterable by words. All right, and that's what we've done. So essentially that is that step. There's another kind of interesting feature with the split function. If you don't give it any arguments, it will split on any white space. So this includes spaces, tabs, new lines. Okay, so you can actually do this, and it splits a little bit differently, but it gives you probably a better result because it splits on other things, not just literal spaces. It could be a new line, it could be a tab, it could be something like that. So you should use split with no arguments to split on plain white space. Okay, so once we have that, now we can iterate through the result. Now here I printed the result, but we can say, I can say words equals text.split. Okay? So now it doesn't print anything, but all the results are stored as words. Okay, so words is now iterable by the word. Okay, so iterate over words, and I've called it the variables words, right, just for convenience so that we know what it is. And I can say for word in words, print word. All right, so that's all the words, and they're printed on each one line. Now notice some of these, this is actually two words, right? So we could be kind of more clever about the way we split this and the way that we got rid of other characters in here. Don't worry about that. Just treat all of these as words. I understand that, you know, this is actually two words, right? This is actually a number, not a word. This has these dots in it. Don't worry about that. That's outside of the scope of what we're doing. We can kind of make this more sophisticated later on. Right now, we just really want to kind of get the basic script down. We'll just call all of these words, and that's totally fine for the assignment. All right, so keys. So keys is will give us the keys to a dictionary, right? So it will print a list of keys for that dictionary. So I could say here, if I wanted to create a new dictionary, right, I could say data equals new dictionary, and here I could say data word equals word. And down here, I'll print data. Okay, so if I print data after doing this, notice now we get a dictionary. Okay, because we are setting each one of these values for this dictionary, right? We're setting the key as the word and the value as the word. So notice the key and the value are the same. Key, value, same. All right. But if I say dot keys, I can look at just the keys. And remember, I can also say things like if wins in data.keys, print found wins. Okay, so it will print found wins. If I say wind, okay, it found that word too. But if I say something like this, right, it doesn't print anything. So we can use this in to determine whether a key already exists in our dictionary. Okay, and that's a kind of a clue as to kind of part of the solution. Okay, increment. So increment is useful. Incrementing is, I could say, let's see. I could say I equals 0, and here I could say if, so let me just get rid of, you know what, I want to keep this in a separate cell just for reference. Okay, and I'm just going to do this in another cell down below so that we can talk about each one of these as separate items. So incrementing, if we go into our loop and we say if word, say, I don't know, say if word equals the, I can say I plus equals 1. Okay, and down here I'll print I have to define I as 0 up above. So remember, if you have a variable like this, you need to initialize it first. Okay, so there we go. So the word the shows up 6 times. Okay, so the incrementing is important, but you need to store all the words as keys to dictionaries, right? So because if we don't want, we want a unique count of the words, all right? So those are a couple of tools that you need to solve this problem. So talked about splitting on white space, right? Like this. We talked about keys, okay? Keys gives you a lit return, so data.keys. If you call it on a dictionary like data, it will return to you, it will print the keys, okay, for that dictionary. And increment down here is just this operator, plus equals 1, and if this is an integer, it will add 1 every time it's called, okay, and it adds 1 to the existing value. It's the equivalent of saying I equals I plus 1. Okay, it's the same thing. Okay. All right, so that's the things that I wanted to cover. The pseudocode as well, that's something that you want to think about. It's harder to write pseudocode. Obviously, if you don't know the syntax, you're not going to write the actual code. It's going to take you a little bit to think about it. But you want to kind of think about just kind of the steps that you can take, right? All right, so those are the main hints that I had for assignment 3. And so if you do have questions, you can post them in the forum, and I should be able to answer them. I think probably a lot of the questions that I see are the same questions, so don't hesitate to ask if you have any additional questions. All right, thanks, and hope that helps.